Hi guys, welcome back to GP Reactions. I hope you're well, I hope you're having a great day, and as always, thank you for subscribing. So I'm now going to be reacting to The Incredible String Band. I've never heard them before. I don't really know what they're about. And the track I'm going to be reacting to is called the October Song. And this is taken from a self-titled album from 1966, although I believe it was also released in 1967 in the US. And this was a suggestion by a colleague of mine, and it's taken me about like 6 months to kind of get around to these suggestions, as they are on my ever-increasing list. So yeah, without further ado, this is the October Song by The Incredible String Band.
I'll sing you this October song. Oh, there is no song before it. The words and tune are none of my own, for my joys and sorrows bore it. Beside the sea, the brambly briars, in the still of evening, birds fly out behind the sun, and with them I'll be leaving. The fallen leaves that jewel the ground, they know the art of dying, and leave with joy their glad gold hearts in the scarlet shadows lying. When hunger calls my footsteps home, the morning follows after. I swim the seas within my mind, and the pine trees laugh green laughter.
So I'm just going to pause it there. This is a beautiful song. I'm loving the guitar, and the vocals were kind of really cool. I love the kind of way he doesn't just kind of go up, it's almost like a soaring kind of vocal, but not like I've ever heard before. I would probably say this was folk, although I think this band, according to my colleague at work, I think this band is like slightly psychedelic too. So, but I'm absolutely loving it. It's one of these kind of wonderful songs that I could just kind of sit under a tree on a summer's day and just close my eyes, and it's all very, just kind of makes me feel very close to nature, music like this.
I used to search for happiness, and I used to follow pleasure, but I found a door behind my mind, and that's the greatest treasure. For rulers like to lay down laws, and rebels like to break them, and the poor priests like to walk in chains, and God likes to forsake them. I met a man whose name was Time, and he said I must be going, but just how long ago that was, I have no way of knowing. Sometimes I want to time, sometimes when my heart's aching. But mostly I just stroll along the path that he is taking.
So that was the Incredible String Band with the October song, and I kind of really enjoyed that. It kind of felt very folkish, but I really enjoyed his vocals, the vocals of Robin Williamson, and I was kind of absorbed in the lyrics as well. I kind of got the idea that maybe the overall theme of the song was time passing, but I wasn't entirely sure. I liked what I kind of heard. I loved the simplicity of the guitar. It just felt very light. Whenever I listen to this kind of music, I kind of feel like I'm a bit closer to nature. I can't explain why. It just feels like I should be in the depths of a forest or something. But anyway, that's just kind of how I feel about this kind of music. Or maybe I feel like I should be in a pub, tucked up a corner, like watching this group kind of live, which is probably a more appropriate place to be with a nice drink. So I'm going to have a quick look at the lyrics and see what I can understand. Like I said, I think the overall theme was maybe about how time passes, and I couldn't figure out or work out whether it was intentionally supposed to be sad or kind of like quite pragmatic, but we'll see anyway. I'll sing you this October song, oh there is no song before it. The words and tune are none of my own, for my joys and sorrows bore it. Beside the sea, the brambly briars, in the still of the evening, birds fly out from behind the sun, and with them I'll be leaving. The fallen leaves that jewel on the ground, they know the art of dying, and leave there with joy their glad gold hearts in the scarlet shadows lying. So these first kind of three verses, I was thinking about when summer goes into autumn, and then autumn kind of goes into winter, and October's that kind of funny time where you're just departing from. I kind of feel, even though October is supposed to be autumn, I get that there's a big difference between October and September. September still feels like warm. It still feels like there's life in the trees. Whereas October's kind of like signalling that change, and I kind of felt it was just like maybe the passing of the seasons. But yeah, I loved the first three verses. So the fourth verse, when the hunger calls my footsteps home, the morning follows after. I swim the seas within my mind, and the pine trees laugh green laughter. And I think maybe that's perhaps connected to the first three verses. I'm not entirely sure. I used to search for happiness, and I used to follow pleasure, but I found a door behind my mind, and that's the greatest treasure. I kind of love this idea because it kind of feels like the wisdom of life. When we're kind of younger, we look for kind of happiness. We kind of follow the pleasure of what we do. We live in the moment. When we kind of get a little bit older, we tend to kind of rely on what we've learnt, and it sort of maybe there's a spiritual connection to this. But I found the door behind my mind, and that's the greatest treasure. It kind of makes me think of the kind of third eye, the Buddhist thing, which is about how you kind of have you have a different perspective on the world through this, seeing it from more spiritual, universe eyes, and or it could be kind of maybe suggesting meditation through drugs, expanding your universal knowledge of everything around you, but maybe not through actually physical experiences. For rulers like to lay down laws, and rebels like to break them, and the poor priests like to walk in chains, and God likes to forsake them. For rulers like to lay down laws, and rebels like to break them, and the poor priests like to walk in chains, and God likes to forsake them. I mean, he's God benevolent, he's God allowing us to kind of find our own wisdom, or is God essentially just allowing us to exist for God's own entertainment, and our life is at our expense. It's a kind of a tricky one, that. I met a man whose name was Time. He said, I must be going, but just how long ago that was, I have no way of knowing. Sometimes I want to murder time, sometimes when my heart's aching, but mostly I stroll along the path that he's taking. I think, like time waits for no one, and this idea of kind of murdering time, it's really interesting because quite often we waste. I think, I wouldn't say we waste time, but I think there's always like a debate of whether when you just sit around doing nothing, is that wasted time within your lifetime? It's hard to kind of be sure. I remember some years ago when my dad passed away, and the person who kind of took the service, he said, if we could get back every minute that we've wasted, we could, do something special with it, something along those lines. And it really kind of got me thinking about all the times I've basically stared into space, and sometimes when I've gone somewhere and I thought, Jesus, this is really is a waste of time. I wish I hadn't have gone here. I could have gone somewhere else. As you get older, you get less opportunities to go places because there's less people around to invite you. But I think when you're younger, you make those decisions. And this whole idea about murdering time, it's really interesting. And essentially, we just kind of end up strolling along the path that time is taking. But yeah, if I could murder a bit of time, or if I could go back and extract all the moments and get a few years back, I would probably do that. It's just a lovely song. I really, really enjoyed it. And I know I say that about most songs, but I have such an eclectic taste in music that I almost always kind of find something good in a song to kind of talk about, or even if it's just a feeling that I get from the song. There are probably about one or two tracks in the whole entire my reactions that I've been a little bit kind of negative about, but not to any massive degree. And these are the kind of like tracks that I kind of find either repetitive or they've lacked something in their production maybe, or substance of their lyrics. But this one I really enjoyed. I loved the lyrics. It was kind of like poetry, and it was very, very, the vocals were very clear. So I was able to kind of engage with this song as it progressed. And it was very, very simple as well. And I could imagine them tucked up a corner of a pub, as I've said, and, kind of regaling us with their music and their songs. Really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this too. If you have any thoughts or knowledge about the Incredible String Band, please join me in the comments below. And as always, I welcome your comments. I love to have a good read of them and reply whenever I can. So guys, till next time, take care of yourselves, and I will speak to you later.